With that, I would like to turn it over to our moderator for today, Phil Winters. Phil?
Thank you, Jennifer. And welcome, everybody. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to the rest of us. Let me tell you a little bit about the Center for Urban Transportation Research based in Tampa. We were established in 1988 by the Florida legislature and provide a variety of different backgrounds and unique characteristics, including most of the folks here have what we call real-world experience, don't come from a traditional academic background, but we're full-time researchers. We're currently running over about 100 active research projects, about $8 million a year among the 45 full-time researchers that we have here at Qatar. And we have, in addition to a variety of different programs that are listed on the right-hand side of your screen, we also are the home for the National Center for Transit Research and the National Bus Rapid Transit Institute. So what we'll do is do a couple quick polling questions before we get started here with Cicinio. Okay, how many people are viewing today's webcast with you? If you hit the little circle right next to the colored boxes, please. Okay, give it about 30 more seconds. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. And it currently, certainly, it looks like a good majority of you are watching it by yourself, but there are a few places with more than one person. It's good to hear. The second question is, generally, where are you located? State of Florida, outside of Florida? Okay, it looks like about most people have voted. I'm going to go ahead and close the polls. Half within Florida and half outside Florida. Well, welcome to all. Two more questions. What type of organization do you represent, or if you're in a multi-site location, what are the majority of the folks represent at your location? All right. Looks like the majority are from the consultant or other private businesses, but we've got MPOs, other universities, as well as local and state DOTs represented. All right, that's great. Let me close this poll. And the last one. How many of these Qatar webcasts, these that are occurring about every other Thursday, have you been attending? Is this your first one? Okay, it looks about 30% is the first time, and then 70% have been to at least one or more, and there are several that have been repeat customers. Well, welcome to everybody. I appreciate you participating in those polls. Okay, today's presenters, Dr. Cicinio Conkas. Cicinio is a transportation economist with a broad experience in urban and regional economic impact analysis and transportation policy analysis. He currently serves as a senior research associate here at the Center for Urban Transportation Research at the University of South Florida. His research focuses on linkages between transportation infrastructure investment and economic development. He is the developer of another tool called the Bus Fleet Fuel Evaluation Model, or buffet, I guess. Maybe it's buffet, it's lunchtime. He is, as you will hear, he is a native of Italy. He holds a PhD in economics from here at the University of South Florida with a field specialization in urban economics and applied econometrics. He also holds a Master's of Arts in Economics from USF here, and a doctoral degree in political sciences with a field specialization in macroeconomics from the University of Sassari, I believe, Italy. And with that, let me turn it over to Cicinio. Cicinio?
Thank you, Phil, and thanks for spelling out correctly all the names related to the university. Hello, everybody. It's very exciting to have so many of you today for this presentation. What we are going to talk about for the remaining minutes of this hour is the development of this sketch planning application that we designed and developed here at Carter and the Nectar Center. It's an application that is designed to evaluate the costs and benefits of several transportation demand management strategies. And without further ado, let's see what really the objective is for this hour in terms of getting some practical experience and exposure to TDM evaluation. Now, why first is really relevant to evaluate TDM strategies, and once we understand why it is relevant, and what are really the transportation demand management strategies that can be effectively evaluated. Some of them, and we will see that there's quite a broad spectrum of different TDM strategies that are applied by practitioners, both here in the United States and also in the rest of the world, as a tool to assess congestion issues without relying on infrastructure investments, such as building new highways or expanding new corridors. There is a broad set of strategies that can be effectively adopted to assess congestion problems. Some of these strategies can be evaluated in terms of benefits, because they are kind of easy in terms of quantification of costs and benefits, as we shall see. Some other ones are, although indirectly affecting travel behavior, they're not so easily quantified, but there is nonetheless a need to assess their effectiveness. So we will see that because of this research effort, we sort of put together a way of estimating the cost and benefits of some of these TDM strategies, and also to assess the effectiveness of those strategies that are not so directly and easily quantified. Now, it is true that when you think about transportation demand management initiatives, for example, if you're an employer, you're giving out transit subsidies because you have an interest in terms of enticing or incentivizing changes in travel behavior of your employees, trying to switch them from the use of single occupancy vehicles to increase transit use. You might think of putting forth programs such as giving out transit subsidies, or some other forms of transportation such as carpooling or van pooling. But at the very end, assessing the effectiveness of these strategies in terms of changes in travel behavior, and quantifying changes in travel behavior in terms of mode share shifts or changes in vehicle miles of travels, which are really metrics or measures of the effectiveness of TDM. It becomes really difficult when you are facing budgetary constraints. Say you are a public official, you're a public decision-making agency, to decide whether to invest in TDM programs or whether to dedicate similar or more amounts of dollars to assess congestions by means of infrastructure investment. So on a dollar basis, ideally one would be interested in comparing the effectiveness of TDM versus the effectiveness of other traditional infrastructure investments. So if I were to invest $1 in a given set of TDM strategies, how many dollars will I get back in terms of benefits? And what do we mean by benefits? How do we measure benefits? In the past, we realized that really there is not one unique way to look at this issue, and throughout the United States, there's really there does not exist a standardized approach to quantify the costs and benefits of TDM, especially when you're trying to assess TDM effectiveness using metrics such as benefit to cost ratio or return on investment. It becomes really difficult to assess the value of TDM. So a little while ago, it was in 2005, 2006, we developed a standardized approach to Tdm evaluation, and there, in the process of coming up with a standardized approach to evaluation, we ended up developing the very first version of a sketch planning application that would allow practitioners in the field to gauge or get an idea the very first stages of planning or what the value of some TDM strategies was in terms of both costs and benefits. That led to the development of TRIMS, which stands for Trip Reduction Impacts of Mobility Management Strategies. The word mobility management strategies is the same as transportation demand management, depending the objectives are the same, but some of the acronyms used they vary, but we use mobility management strategies for the acronym of TRIMS. TRIMS is a sketch planning application. You will see that at the very initial phases of planning allow you to get an idea of both the costs and the benefits associated with some of the TDM strategies. So the question is, okay, there is one way to standardize TDM evaluation, but how do you put that into practice in terms of coming up with a tool that can be used by everybody? It strikes a balance between ease of use and complexity of the analysis and data requirements to run the analysis. So the sketch planning application that we'll go over briefly today, by the way, you will see at the end of the presentation that this is an overall introduction to TRIMS, and there will be some more technical seminars coming up in the month of June. I'll provide some details at the end of this presentation. TRIMS basically is designed to provide one metric. If you invest $1 in some TDM strategies, and you have a list in front of you, and we will differentiate these strategies in two broad categories. So if you invest $1 into these strategies, how many dollars are you going to get back in terms of benefits? Benefits to everybody or to the society overall, and we define the society as the area where you are conducting the analysis. And you will see that TRIMS differentiate between a site evaluation, so it has a site evaluation focus, or a focus on the regional evaluation. So there are two broad categories of TDM, those that directly affect the cost of travel. For example, transit subsidies or some parking charges, some other charges directly affecting the cost of travel, for example, tolling or dynamic pricing, and some other strategies that directly affect the cost of travel in terms of affecting travel time, both access and in case of transit, and really from one point to another in terms of time it takes to get to a destination. So some of these strategies really have an impact on users, because users they immediately realize that there is a cost associated with traveling. So these strategies, usually defined as hard versus soft measures, are kind of easier to quantify and to compare when you are conducting an evaluation return on investment analysis. Some others, such as the soft programs or employee-based TDM support strategies, they do not directly affect the cost of travel, but they are designed to have an effect on travel behavior, either shifting the time when an individual decides to or has to go to work by offering, for example, telecommuting, alternative work schedules, or flexible working schedules, and some other program support strategies, like, for example, in the case of when an employer is offering van pooling programs, is the presence of a guaranteed ride home. So if there is an emergency for an employee needs to get home at a certain time, but it has used either car sharing or van pooling as a means to transport to work, the presence of these program support strategies really and surely has an effect on travel behavior. And it needs to be quantified. And of course, there are difficulties in terms of quantifying the benefits associated with some of these employer-based TDM support. We will see that we sort of found a way to measure the benefits associated with TDM support measures, telecommuting, and all other strategies that do not directly affect the cost of travel. Now, we talked about costs and benefits, and what do we measure within this sketch planning application? We look at the most relevant benefits. There are usually benefits that are measured when a public agency or another agency is investing in traditional transportation infrastructure, is changes in air pollution level, baseline versus an improvement case scenario. So we will see that TRIMS does a comparison versus the presence or absence of a given set of TDM strategies and measures the predicted changes in travel behavior and measures the associated benefits in terms of changes in pollutants, and the model differentiates between a major type of pollutants, volatile organic compounds or VOCs, carbon monoxide, and also the benefits associated with reduction if they are produced by given TDM strategies in terms of reduction in congestion levels. Not congestion, well, congestion is measured depending on the focus of the analysis at the site or at the regional level. We will see that the model can also estimate changes in excess fuel consumption. When, for example, you give out transit subsidies and you have employees that might be incentivized to switch to transit, there is a reduction in vehicle miles of travel. We can estimate the changes in fuel consumption and see what the savings could be to the individuals or for the region as a whole. And in this new version of TRIMS that we put forth on, I think, a year and a half ago, we also added some other measures of benefits, like the impact on global climate change. We measure the CO2 equivalents, reductions, if any, because of a given set of TDM strategies, and we also measure changes in health and safety. Here is measured in terms of changes in both not only fatalities reduction or changes in fatalities, but also property damage that might be resulting from a reduction in vehicle miles of travel. And also another measure which is of benefits, which is related to changes in noise pollution. So there is quite a vast range of benefits that are considered within TRIMS, and the analyst with SHOLSI can decide if to measure all of them or to concentrate on each one of these measures that you see. Now, the level of analysis that you can, at which you can conduct your evaluation is basically both. It can be at the regional or at the employer-based level. Now, at regional level, you can evaluation of multiple work sites or in industry sectors, but initially, because of the very first version of TRIMS was concentrating on worksite evaluation, we left this option in this new version of the model. It's of interest, of course, because if you're a single employer or you're maybe a practitioner in the field that has been requested or asked to evaluate the impact of a set of TDM strategies for an employer or for another agency, you wish to conduct just an assessment at the worksite level. Of course, this is still a strong component within the TRIMS model. Now, as I said at the very beginning, the evaluation within a sketch planner application, of course, strikes a balance between the complexity in terms of data requirements and the ease of use. We designed the application in a way that can be used quite easily by somebody that is not so technically oriented. It comes loaded with a set of default parameters for 85 metropolitan statistical areas in the United States. So think about it that it really, for example, today when we run the polls, we found out that most of you are in Florida, but quite few of you are located in the west region of the United States. I guess maybe some of you from California. So, and you have in front of you the TRIMS model you started, and you will see that there are default values for the metropolitan statistical area where you might be located at this point in time. Keeping in mind that the model is very flexible, it can be customized by the user in terms of overriding the default values so that you can come up with your own customized version of the model and run your analysis. For example, when we talk about default values, and just to give you a brief example, is that you are analyzing a given metropolitan statistical area and you are conducting a regional evaluation. Immediately the model, depending on the area you select, it provides you with default values for modal shares, baseline modal shares, upon which you wish to predict changes in modal shares because of the TDM strategies that you're evaluating. The model basically functions in terms of estimating changes in the demand for a given mode. We have several modes, from single occupancy vehicle to transit, van pooling, carpooling, and so forth. And it's based on elasticity of demand functions. The model comes up with a loaded set of elasticity parameters, and when we will go over the very simple application, you will see that the default values are okay. They can be used as they are right now within the model. They are quite accurate, and they are also, there is the possibility for you, those that might be more technically inclined, to override the default elasticity parameters to achieve a better customization of the model. Now, the model produces several sets of outputs. It predicts changes in mode shares and VMT because of implementation of the TDM strategies that you select during the process of the analysis. It measures the benefits and costs and distinguishing them between peak and off-peak period. It also provides a benefit to cost ratio, which is basically telling you the answer. If we invest $1 in these strategies, how many dollars do we get back in terms of benefits, which is basically a metric that is used when evaluating infrastructure investments. So this metric, the benefit to cost ratio, it might be of interest for public decision makers. It also estimates changes in emission pollutants, as I mentioned before, volatile organic compounds, CO, CO2, nitrous oxides, and so forth. And these estimates are basically providing daily metric tons and pounds, and so in absolute values, but also in terms of percent changes, reduction over the baseline scenario, so that you can get an idea in terms of the impact of a given set of TDM strategy in terms of changes in emission pollutants. Now, of course, as any application, you have these results, you have an output. Very often the output is provided in terms of single point estimates. We felt compelled to take into account the following, that of course, given that we're dealing with a sketch planning application that uses default parameters, and the default parameters might, for example, in the case of some some input parameters such as the elasticities for the demand function that might vary in terms of ranges, and there might be some inherent variability that must be taken into account so that a certain reliability in terms of the results obtained can be assessed. So we embedded in the TRIMS model a sensitivity analysis module that achieves different objectives. One checks for the results in terms of their reliability, and two provides estimates in terms of measuring a given targeted benefit to cost ratio. For example, if you're a public agency that is deciding whether to invest in some TDM strategies, you don't know in which strategies you actually you think are more rewarding in terms of changing travel behavior. You have maybe in your mind a set of strategies, giving out transit subsidies and starting a van pooling program, maybe engaging in car sharing. Well, you have an idea of these different strategies. What you have in mind is the following question: how much are they worth? Which one should I focus on? And by the way, I'm facing some budget constraints. So if I have so many dollars to invest, really, how much we are going to get out in terms of benefits? So having an idea of achieving a given return on investment here, measuring in terms of return on every dollar invested in these strategies, you would like to know what is really the likelihood of achieving this target benefit to cost ratio. The model does this, basically. So if you're facing some constraints, like a budgetary constraints, or you're kind of risk averse in terms of the strategies that you wish to invest, these sensitivity analysis models might help you in the decision-making process. Now, I've talked quite a bit about the TRIMS model. Of course, I have not shown it to you, and I think it's about time to load the application, go over a very simple example, and show you the model so that you get an idea of what really this sketch planning application does. Spare with me just a few seconds because I'm switching over another computer that has this application. By the way, this the TRIMS model works under the Microsoft Excel platform. At this point, I think you should be able to see the application. It works within Excel within 2003 to 2007. It works thanks to so-called macro scripts. It's very easy to set up, and we have the model available for download, as well as the manual, so that you can run examples and get accustomed to the model and modify the parameters, everything. And it's available for download. We will show you the link at the end of this presentation where to get the model. Once you download the model from our own website, by the way, I strongly suggest to put both the model and the manual within one single directory, so that when you double-click on the model, you will see a splash screen, which, by the way, you don't see it over here because for the sake of the presentation, I just previously loaded the program. But this is what you see once you start the sketch planning application. You will see two basic buttons in front of you. One, run the analysis, and two, the user manual. If I click over here, and as I said before, you have put basically the of course you probably don't see it at this point because the way that the live meeting works is that you need to share the application that you're opening. So I'm reverting back on the TRIMS. But if you click on the user manual, you load the PDF file, which is the user manual. Throughout the analysis, also there are some little help screens embedded within TRIMS that might guide you through the analysis. Now, I'm going to run an analysis on a simple application example. I'm assuming the following. I click on Run the Analysis, and I see a splash screen in front of me that consists of exactly 11 steps. And in the very first screen, I just enter some basic information. In here, I'm going to, for the sake of this presentation, conduct a very simple analysis. And I'm entering some information. I'm any agency. The analysis title here, I'm going to run an analysis at the site level, work site. I'm just interested in evaluating the impact of some TDM strategies. I would like to concentrate the analysis on the impact of some transit subsidies that an employer is going to give out to see if there are any changes in terms of travel behavior to the pool of employees. So I'm going to call this transit subsidy, so I'm giving a specific name, and of course, since it's always safe to give a meaningful name to the analysis, here I'm thinking of the following example. I'm going to give a 50 cents out of a $2.50 round-trip cost for this pool of employees. I'm just going to put the initials on my analyst name. I'm going to enter today's date, and in just a few seconds I'm going to tell you why it's important to put the current date in this cell over here. And as I said, I'm going to run a site-specific analysis. So here, for the sake of this example, I'm just going to give out 50 cents out transit subsidy out of $2.50 round-trip fare to the employees of a small firm. And you say, which small firm? How many employees? Well, let's click on the next screenshot. We are conducting a site evaluation. We said that the model presents you with loaded input parameters for 85 metropolitan statistical areas. You see in this screenshot that basically you have the United States map divided in different regions, and of course I'm not going to be looking as biased and click on the south and then select my own metropolitan statistical area, which is the Tampa Bay area. But once you click in one of the regions, I'm going to click on the west side of the United States, by the way, and in the urban area on the right side, right over on top of the screen, there is a scrolling bar that allows you to select a subset of the metropolitan statistical areas for which there are default input parameters. Well, I'm going to select Los Angeles, Riverside, Orange County in California as the metropolitan statistical area for where I'm located, and I'm going to conduct this evaluation. Now next, and of course the user manual explains the definition of each one of these screenshots. I'm going to select the season where I'm conducting this analysis. This is really important in a way what season means over here, because the input parameters relating to the pollutant, the emission factors for that region are the TRIMS model comes loaded with default pollution emission factors for each one of these 85 metropolitan statistical areas in the United States, differentiating because the input emission factors that come from the mobile 6.2 model of the Environmental Protection Agency, and we know that pollutant emissions of pollutants is dependent upon environmental factors, for example, and also the speed and ambient temperatures and altitude. So here I'm going to select summer because we're closer to summer, so that we can get the emission factors for the Los Angeles area approaching to summer temperature. So we're loading those default parameters. Now, which road type most of your employees are taking on the way to work? I'm going to select all types because it might be a mix of freeway and arterials. Here is important because this selection does two things. It measures the congestion, it fishes out the default congested freeway and arterial speeds, and also the probability of incurring into accidents by accident type for the area that you're running the evaluation. All this is relevant because in this stage you're calling out the default input parameters in TRIMS for that selected metropolitan statistical area. I'm going to click on Next. We have selected the worksite evaluation. Therefore, this step 3 of the analysis is a function of your selection. If you had selected the regional evaluation, the screenshot would have looked slightly different because if you conduct a regional evaluation, you have different factors to take into account as opposed as if you're running a single worksite evaluation. I'm just entering here amounts in terms of, because we're just showing you, introducing you to the application. So there is not really such a heavy meaning to the numbers that I'm entering. But I said before that we were doing analysis of a transit subsidy at the worksite level for an employer. So I'm assuming that we're talking about a small employer, 250 full-time employees. It has 0 part-time employees, and these employers belongs to the following sector. I'm going to select the retail services sector. So it's a small employer. It's giving out subsidies, 50 cents to some of the employees. Of course, if you think about it, one way to look at the total cost of running a subsidy is to account for the daily amount of subsidies for the employees for which you're giving out the subsidy, and as a function also of the length you're giving out the subsidy. In this case, I'm putting out $25,000. We're going to run this program maybe for 2 years. And having selected everything, I'm moving on to the next step. Now, as I said before, we have selected the West region of the United States. We selected the metropolitan statistical area, the Los Angeles, Orange County, and these are the default mod shares. We, of course, define where all the sources where we get all the input parameters within the user manual. I'm not going to spend too much time where you see where these numbers are coming from, but you have the link to get all these sources within the TRIMS manual. So I'm accepting these default values. They can be overridden at any time of the analysis. Any of these cells, where you see values, you can override them if you have better information. At the bottom of this screen, you see the percent of trips that are taken during the peak period. 53% of them are occurring on the peak period. I'm accepting the default values at this stage of the analysis. So I'm moving on to the next screenshot. And of course, here there is the opportunity to select a set of transportation demand management initiatives. We talked about the presence and the implementation of transit subsidies, but at the same time, think about it, that really, when we talk about transportation demand management initiatives, we don't talk about implementing a single strategy, just giving out transit subsidies. We talk about implementing a portfolio of strategies. It might be a combination of transit subsidies with the establishment of flexible working schedules, carpooling services, or even van pooling services, or giving out some subsidies to incentivize the use of bikes, for example. Right now, I'm just clicking on transit subsidy. I'm assuming as an employer, I'm not considering any other set of strategies. Now, there are some of the employer-based programs here that might be of interest. So I'm assuming that this employer is might be offering carpooling services. Remember that in the analysis that you're running, you might have, as I said in the previous screen, is that you might have an employer that is offering transit subsidies and is offering at the same time a carpooling program. So you might have an employer that is also putting together carpooling matching services, and also if the employer is offering carpooling and van pooling, might have a guaranteed ride home program, which is basically assuring that in the presence of an emergency, the employee can be driven home because a vehicle is present at the work site as an emergency ride home. I'm leaving this empty because we're just running a simple evaluation of a transit subsidy over here. On the next screen, which is step number 7 of the analysis, we look at the other support programs, the presence of flexible working hours. Maybe the employer is offering this. I'm going to click here. Remember that there is a rationale behind the clicking of these options. Of course, once you start answering the question, like for example, does the organization allow flexible working hours? And if you click on yes, the model is calling out some parameters. Because as I mentioned at the very beginning of the analysis, there are 2 broad categories of TDM strategies. Those affecting directly the cost of travel, transit subsidies, van pool subsidies, and so forth, strategies affecting travel time, but also those other strategies that do not directly affect the cost of travel, but they are really relevant, not easily quantifiable. A little while ago, the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, came out with a model which maybe quite few of you are aware of, is the commuter model. And in there, the commuter model had a way of evaluating some of these strategies that do not directly affect the cost of travel, you know, the so-called soft programs. And in there, it had a method to estimate the changes in travel behavior of these employer support programs. It was kind of very minimal in terms of the sophistication of the analysis. We moved a little bit farther from the commuter model because the TRIMS model is much more advanced in terms of linking changes in travel behavior to implementation of employer support programs of this nature, you know, flexible working schedule and so forth, because we have behind the model a set of equations that relates changes in travel behavior to implementation of these support programs using actual data and establishing relationship because of econometric functions. The EPA model had some simple rules of thumb in terms of the strength of the program to estimate model share changes. Quite simple, but we spent quite a great deal of time when developing TRIMS in terms of giving a little bit more sophistication and accuracy in estimating employer support programs that are not so easily quantifiable. So, assuming that these employers offering flexible working schedules, I'm clicking yes, and immediately I'm calling this relationship behind the model in the econometric functions. There are some other perks that the employer might be offering. For example, the employer might be have put forth or established or built a bus or a train station on site at less than within a quarter-mile distance. And this surely has an impact in the probability of choosing transit because of the presence of a station. There is a lot of literature that measures the likelihood of choosing transit because of the presence of a station, and there is a buffer zone within a transit station that upon which the likelihood of choosing transit can be measured. So offering this having such characteristics at the work site are quite relevant in terms of affecting travel behavior. Now, there are 3 tabs at the top of this step number 8 of the analysis. You have accessibility, the presence of amenities. We found that there is also a relationship between the presence of, for example, shopping and shopping and other amenities within the work site or a walking distance from the work site. For example, the presence of a child care or the banking and restaurant availability. Because if you have really these amenities, you might not be using or needing the car to go to work. So definitely there is a relationship, and we quantify this within trims. So selecting some of these options has an ultimate or final impact on the predicted mode share as an output of the model. And also the offering of parking for carpooling, van pooling. This is the third tab that you see on the right. And also, I mean, the presence of free parking spaces having a negative impact on the choice of alternative modes to single occupancy vehicle. It's this little cell over here, and but if the employer is offering free parking spaces, that number should be entering there. I'm leaving it empty at this stage. I'm assuming that I'm not just entering a specific number in here. Now, there is also, in the step number 9 of the analysis, basically information related to promoting TDM programs within the work site. Do you offer some promotional material to your employees? In which form, if so? Do we have a person that is dedicated within the organization to program promotion? Maybe here you have a person that just, since it's a very small firm, a couple of hours a week to promote the the overall TDM program within the work site, and you might send some emails or informational material, or have a little promotional event to sponsor to your employees that you are giving out these transit subsidies. So I'm clicking yes over here, then I'm moving next, which is step 10 of the analysis. Now, we talked about giving out the transit subsidy. We talked about the cost per trip of using transit was set up at $2.50, and here we have to think that we're giving out the subsidy. So we have to take $2.50 minus the 50 cents subsidy. So we end up giving or lowering the cost of travel to our employees to $2, those that are using public transportation. You are going to give this to 100% of your workforce. Basically, not everybody will be using transit all day, but you're giving the transit subsidy to everybody. So there are those that might be using transit, and those that might not be using transit, and those that might be now enticed to use transit. So everybody is eligible for this transit subsidy. 100% of them will be affected. I'm going to click next, and the very last tab is related to the other strategies that might affect the travel behavior. For example, if you are implementing some investments in your for example, in transit, you are building, providing improvement in accessibility to transit at your work site. Maybe you're reducing the distance it takes to walk from a station, to a transit station, to the work site. You can measure that in terms of on average how much it takes to your employees to get to work, and what would be the reduction if you implement some investment. This applies, of course, when you are really looking at some sort of sophisticated measures directed at reducing access and travel time. This is where you enter this information. Of course, we are only running a transit subsidy evaluation. We're not filling anything over here. I'm clicking on finish. At this point, the model does the calculation and produces the output. Basically, it's a single screenshot called results, where you have a summary of the information entered in front of you, the total program cost. Then you have the reported initial baseline mode share percentages and the final or predicted modal shares because of the strategies that you have selected. Those strategies or policies that you are evaluating are financial incentives, the transit subsidies, and we also put in there some support program strategies. We talked about the fact that the employer was running some promotional initiatives and so forth. So those two cells are selected. The final mode shares are produced by the model, and the changes in percentage terms are provided on the right side. Now, the model also estimates travel impacts. So you have the initial number of trips for your employees, both differentiating between peak and off-peak, depending on where at the beginning this 53% of travel occurring in a peak period, the total number of trips, and the changes in number of trips because of this set of TDM strategies. Here, in this example, 250 employees daily, you have a reduction of 6 trips because of 6 single occupancy vehicle trips, by the way, because of the implementation of these financial subsidies. Of course, you have changes in not only in number of trips, but in VMT based on the average trip length for your employees, and they are measured in terms of VMT reduction daily at the bottom, just right below the trips estimation. What becomes really relevant then is next, the estimation of the changes. Here are defined changes in social costs or the benefits of TDM. The word changes in social costs because we're talking about those negative effects that do not only affect directly the employees, but the overall individuals living in the area where the employees are located. And these are the major, we talked about benefits estimated by TRIMS, which are pollution, congestion, excess fuel consumption, so forth. Any change that is represented in terms of negative values, it means a reduction in the cost or it's an actual benefit over here. So at the very end, you have this program that has a annual cost of $25,000, and you have a certain amount of annual benefits, which are measured over here on the right side. I've been informed by Phil that if at this point of the analysis, if you have any questions, Phil might be gathering them and might be feeding them to me. But nonetheless, you have a set of program benefits over here. And ultimately, you have the metric of interest, which is the benefit to cost ratio. So in this case, if you're investing $1 in these strategies, you're going to get, in terms of benefits, $1.42. Remember, it's just a simple example. It's just to show you what is the output of the TRIMS program. What's of interest over here is the breakdown in changes of emissions by major pollutant, distinguishing between a peak and off-peak period in pounds per day, metric tons per day, in reduction in terms of percentages over the baseline scenario. So basically, the implementation of transit subsidies results in a reduction of 6.28% of VOCs and 5% of carbon monoxide and so forth. It also measures the changes in gasoline and excess gasoline consumptions on gallons per day. It's quite minimal because we saw that there is a reduction of 6 trips daily in peak period and 4 off-peak period. So also you have a small change in number of gallons consumed per day. I'm going to very quickly show you, because we have 8 minutes left, but I'm going to show you one important component within TRIMS, which I mentioned at the very beginning, is the possibility of corroborating this result by running a sensitivity analysis. You can click on the sensitivity analysis button. There are several buttons over here. One of them is called sensitivity analysis. And you click over here, and you can run basically the following. I said before, I'm willing to invest in these strategies if at least the benefit to cost ratio is greater than 1. What is the likelihood that it's going to be greater than 1? I put 1.0 over there, I click OK. The model is running basically a set of simulations. It takes a little while to run, just a few seconds. It might be faster if your machine is faster. I'm not going to go at length on how complicated it is to actually build this within the application, but what it matters is the results that you see. So you see a set of graphs over here. In terms of, they're called histograms. In yellow is measuring basically what is the likelihood or the probability that your benefit to cost ratio is going to be greater than 1. Of course, here we look at the variability of the inputs, and the model is telling you, although you see that the single point estimates had in your results a $1.40, so quite a high return. In reality, if you were to invest over and over again on this transit subsidy, the probability of getting a benefit to cost ratio greater than 1, so a return, is not that high. It's on average 10%. Off peak, of course, is much less and close to 0. So this provides you with an opportunity to evaluate the strength of the program, and if you're really risk averse, these results might affect your decision, or you might be inclined to look at a broader portfolio of TDM strategies. Now, the model can be extensively modified, and all the process of going through the model modification and basically customization is something that will be discussed in the month of June. Now, I'm going to switch back quickly to the presentation to just tell you that, and conclude, because we have a few minutes left, and of course it's such an extensive application that would really require technical webinar to go over the details of the model, but to give you an overview of what really TRIMS does. We said that it's capable of evaluating different transportation demand management strategies. It provides measures that are consistent with the benchmarking measures used when investing in infrastructure investments. It allows you to conduct analysis at the regional and employer level. It comes loaded with a lot of default parameters that might be just fine for your metropolitan statistical area where you are situated. You corroborate the results of the model by running a sensitivity analysis. You can compute the probability of having a given return over your investment. And as I said, the models, of course, can always be expanded. We're currently developing a new version of TRIMS, which expands the model to look at broader set of transit-based strategies. For example, strategies that actually might incentivize the use of transit. They are more related to planning, for example, transit-oriented development type of strategies that may affect travel behavior. So we have currently undergoing an extension of the model to look at this broader set of transit strategies. Now, as we mentioned at the very beginning, there will be a few sessions that are more technical, and I think Phil can probably provide you more details about these training sessions. Phil?
Sure, Cecilia. Let's go ahead. We can come back to that, or somebody can contact me later. I wanted to make sure we get some the questions in, and I know one of them to begin with is probably, where do I get a hold of this? And let me pull up the link here online. That will take you to the reports and a copy of the spreadsheet model. Download for free. It'll actually give you 3 projects we're involved with TRIMS directly or indirectly, so you can see all those projects on the Nectar website. So I know we're close to the end of the hour, but we will go a little bit long for those that want to hang in and ask questions. I'll pull up online. If you use the Q&A feature at the top of your screen, you simply click Q&A, type in your question in the box here, click Ask, and then we'll pull those questions and ask those of Cecilia. So, Cecilia, we've already got a couple coming in. Let me, okay. All right. The first question is, the cost of the program was $25,000 for 2 years. Is this based on your estimate of how many employees will take advantage of the new subsidy? And I think on a related matter, Cecilia, I think we need to stress that the cost was simply an input. We don't estimate the cost as part of as part of TRIMS, right?
Yeah, that is correct, Phil. It should be. It is not a default input that comes loaded with the model. It's let's say it's quite on the part of the analyst to have an gauge an idea what the cost of a subsidy would be. For example, if you were running probably 50 cents subsidy to your 250 employees for 2-3 years, and definitely you have to get an idea on what is the percentage of employees that might be using the subsidy and cost it out and enter it as a cost to the program, as well as any other cost that you might incur along the way. So it does not come up as a default value.
Another question is, are the trips reduced one-way or two-way trips?
These are two-way trips.
Okay. There's a question. Will a link to the EPA model mentioned be available? I believe we're alluding to the commuter model. If you search we have the link. I don't have it handy right now, but if you search EPA commuter model, it should pop up. Again, that's a free model with documentation and is downloadable as well. On the next question is on the results spreadsheet. It appears that the program benefits that the net annualized costs are not added and that would change the results. You have a peak and an off-peak that are both less than 1 for the cost-benefit ratio. The total wouldn't be more than 1.
No, because you don't have, the cost is 1. Either that you run it for peak or off-peak, it would be double counting the cost. You would just have an annualized cost, and then you have benefits that change according to the period. So it's one cost that applies to both periods.
Okay. And again, the cost is just a straight input that we were just using that to illustrate, rather than saying that this is a accurate representation of what it would cost. Next one is, can the model analyze the combined effect from multiple strategies?
That is exactly what we sought to achieve with this model, is the combination of the strategies affecting the cost of travel, the subsidies, with those support programs, the flexible working schedules, telecommuting, and so forth. Yes, combined strategies.
Are there any special hardware or software that somebody needs to be able to use to use this?
Not really, because as long as you have Microsoft Excel, at this point, I think most of us have the 2003 version, and this one works fine with 2003, 2007. I tested it with the latest, the 2010, and seems to be working just fine. As long as you know how to set up the enable the macros, which we put we explain in the manual, then you're fine. You can run the model.
Okay. Next question is, will the model run if you don't input a value for program costs?
Well, it's a very good question. You will not get the benefit to cost ratio, of course, but you will still be able to measure the benefits. So it will estimate the benefits, even though you're going to put, say, 0 in terms of program costs.
Okay. Has the model been tested against actual TDM programs?
Another excellent question. The practical use of this model at this stage has been done by, we just mentioned earlier on, by the ICF Corporation. They used the model on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency. By the way, they suggested to use the TRIMS model to run the analysis. They're running evaluation at the regional level of several TDM strategies, and that report is not out yet. It should be any time. There will be probably one that might give us an idea how close TRIMS gets to, to compare, predicted versus actual values. But that's an interesting question. We did another thing, which is comparing the results of the TRIMS model versus the commuter model, and we realized that the commuter model sort of overshoots the estimates compared to the TRIMS model. It's much more conservative, I would say.
Okay. 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Can the model evaluate marketing dollars, such as for advertising or the addition of outreach staff?
What the model does at this point, in an aggregate fashion, sort of estimates it's a very minimal contribution, but the impact of just promoting the strategies, and does this at the work site level in terms of internal promotion of the number of hours that a dedicated staff person puts in on a weekly basis to promote the program. There's a relationship in there which is positive, and does, but not so extensively as to concentrate on specific marketing programs.
Okay, thank you. And there was one question about where to get the model. On that link you have earlier, they'll click on the More buttons associated with the projects, and it will take you to a link where you can download it. If not, feel free to contact Cicinio or myself directly. Should be on the printouts, and you email it, and we'll be happy to send you the link directly if you're having difficulty finding it. Thank you, Cicinio, very much, and I thank for everybody for attending. Before we close, I want to add two things. One of our next webcasts will be the evaluation of camera-based systems to reduce transit bus side collisions, with featuring Dr. Pei-Sun Lin and Achilles on May 19th. Same place, same location, same link, same telephone number. So we hope you'll join that. This has been recorded and will be available for playback within the day. We'll open up an evaluation here shortly. We'd ask if you take the time to do that. For those, we have applied to the American Planning Association for approval to offer AICP continuing maintenance credits. So if you're an AICP and you would like it, please indicate so. You need to provide your name and contact info at the end. If you're not interested in that, that's fine as well. We would certainly welcome your feedback and your suggestions for future topics. And with that, I'd like to thank Cicinio again, and thank you all for joining. Have a great day. Bye.